expected. I really don't know what to expect, and I think that's natural. Salsa, bachata.
Oh,
yeah.
You got it,
yes.
man. Why they invite me?
The more you travel, the more it opens up your mind. Yeah, the more you travel, the more you see things. I'm living proof. Take it from me. You will enjoy it. You know what? When it's all said and done, it's going to be a good vacation.
Fun-filled webcast with all things international dating, and I will be your host tonight. I know. I'm not, anywhere near as attractive as the wonderful Russian women when they're on here. Dina, Anna, all those. But obviously, right now, with what's going on with COVID, wonderful COVID-19, we're all kind of under this quarantine. So you get me coming from the office all by my lonesome, me and my camera. And Kirk and his crack team of professionals are bringing you all this live. Well, it's not exactly live. Well, I'm live, I think, last time I checked. But also the footage of the socials and whatnot, bringing that to you so you guys can kind of watch this and see some, or get an idea of what goes on during these tours. So guys, we do this Monday night call. We've been doing it now for almost 20 years. And I call it a call because it started out as a call, so it's kind of old school, but then we've morphed it into this webinar or webcast, or whatever you want to call it. But we've been doing this for almost 20 years to just give you as much information as possible and allow you a forum to ask questions and get feedback and all that good stuff, because I understand this is a little bit different. You got to think outside the box a little bit when you think about going over internationally and dating. And so we're going to try and give you as much information tonight as possible. And you can ask questions right there on your screen. You can type in the question and I will do my best to answer any questions that you guys may have. Let's see, we did a seminar this weekend, just yesterday actually, and it was virtual, but it was great, and we had quite a few guys attending, and we had quite a few guys take advantage of the seminar-only discounts from that virtual seminar. So congratulations. Woohoo, that's wonderful. I'm glad that you guys did that, because you will be one of those guys in the picture there, smiling, laughing, and having a blast. Guys, it's so hard to have a bad time when you go over and do one of these tours. They're just so much fun, enjoyable, and as I always say, it's like an onion, and you're just peeling away all the different layers of it, and there's so many different layers to the tour. We talked a lot about that last night. I went on for 4 hours. My voice was killing me by the end of it, but talking about how the group tours work and all that. And tonight I'm going to focus a little bit more on the individual tour, because like it or not, we may have to start out with a little bit more individual tours than the group tours when things finally start opening up for the foreign countries. I understand that in the United States, some of the states are starting to open up a little bit more, and even in Phoenix, I just heard that like May 11th, they're going to start allowing restaurants to open in some kind of capacity and all that. So they're starting to try to open things up here cautiously. But does that mean that we can have the kind of social event that we just did in February in Kiev, where we had 470 wonderful women attending? Numbers, guys, numbers. I tell you all the time, it's a numbers game. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to let us do that in July. I'm talking back and forth in my office right now in China to make a decision within the next day or two whether or not we're going to be able to do our tour there in China coming up in June. And that's going to be pretty tricky, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. It's just tough right now. And guys, I'm telling you, like I was talking to a gentleman right now who wants to go over in September for our tour to the Ukraine, which I'm hoping that we'll be able to do. I'm assuming we will. But he just checked his passport, and his passport had just expired. Guys, if your passport has expired or you don't have a passport and you're thinking that you want to go over, you need to get on that right away, because if you go to the government's website about passports right now, they're telling you that there's going to be severe wait times right now for passports, because they've basically shut down doing passports other than just for essential kind of emergency travel. So unless you can give them a really good reason, I don't know if going over to meet some beautiful women is a really good reason when it comes to the United States government, although to you and I think it's a great reason, and yes, it's an emergency. We need to go meet these beautiful women. But I'm not sure we're going to convince the passport people that that's the case. And right now, given what's going on with COVID-19, they're using that as an excuse to not issue passports and to make it very difficult to renew your passport. So if you're in that situation where your passport is, getting ready, you need to have 6 months of time on your passport left from the time you leave the country that you're in, right? So if your passport's expiring with 6 months or fewer from the date that you're going to be leaving the country, they may not let you into that country. So this is something that's important. So check your passport if you're thinking about going over with us sometime this year, and make sure that it's up to date. And if it's not, get it in, and don't just send it in through the postal service or something like that. Go to someplace online like Passport Express or something like that. PassportExpress.com, and pay a little bit extra to have them expedite it for you, because they have connections. They can walk it through. They can go right to and get it in front of the line and get it over to you sooner, because if you just go through the normal channels, it could be months, literally months before you get that back, okay? Because they're slowing it down because they don't want people traveling right now. And again, it's really going to come down to the rules and regulations that the other countries that we want to go to see these beautiful women and meet them, what they impose on us as foreigners coming to their country. That's going to be the important thing, and that's what we're looking for. And we will have you guys go over as soon as it's safe to do so, and as soon as we can, with the airlines and with the countries, and allowing us to do the events that we do in the way that we do them. And if we have to tweak it, if we have to change things a little bit until this whole virus thing is past us, then we will. We've been around for 25 years, and we've seen lots and lots of different things during that time, and we've dealt with lots and lots of different problems, and we'll deal with this one as well. So where there's a will, there's a way, and we will get that done one way or the other. All right. I was just talking to a gentleman today, a few hours ago, who was in the Ukraine just recently, and he was just telling me how much fun it was. He was talking about one of his buddies was telling him, that's just all going to be, bad and whatever, all these negative things that his buddy was saying. He's like, dude, I had the time of my life. I was in Kiev, Ukraine. I was dating beautiful women, and I enjoyed myself immensely. No, I did not meet the woman of my dreams that I want to marry and spend the rest of my life with, but I had one hell of a fun time. And it was really, really enjoyable. And I can't wait to go back. That's why he was calling me, because he was asking me, John, when can we go again? When can we get back? And he was just telling me the conversation he was having with his friends. And he's like, they just don't understand. They don't get it, that you can go over here and just meet these different women from this different culture, and they want to meet you, and you're just having so much fun. And all they're worried about is, oh, it could be a problem. Something could go wrong. Well, yeah, something could go wrong domestically too, right? You can go on a domestic dating site, I don't care if it's Match or whatever, and you could find problems there too. But I'm telling you guys, it is so much fun going over and putting yourself in this position and having fun. All right, I'm going off again. I did have a little bit of Mountain Dew today, so I did a lot of talking yesterday, so I had to give myself something here. So I did that a little bit. So, all right, we got lots of questions already coming in. That's good. That's good. And hopefully we'll have more and more. So guys, ask your questions, because tonight's theme is going to be talking about the individual club. And we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of that. I know you guys hear me all the time talking about how I think the group tours are much better than the clubs. And guess what? I still think the group tour is much better than the club. I think that the group tour is the most effective and efficient way to go about doing this. You will have a blast. You will have the time of your life. You have to work hard at having a bad time on one of these tours. You really do. Can it be done? Yes. I've seen guys that have had a bad time on the tour. But because of their own mindset, they do it to themselves. All right? Because there's so much opportunity in so many different ways for you to have a positive outcome that, yeah, you have to work really, really hard to find just that only negative thing. And sometimes a very, very small number of guys can manage to do that. But the vast majority of you who go over, and I think the reason that so many of you have such a wonderful time, not to mention the fact that we give you that great opportunity, but also because I think it's a special kind of person that avails himself of this opportunity. You gotta be a little bit special to do this. And I say that in the nicest way, because I'm one of the ones that started this, right, with our partners, 25 years ago. You have to be a little different. You have to think outside the box a little bit to do this, or else you would not put yourself on a plane, travel halfway around the world, and just in order to meet these wonderful, beautiful women, and put yourself in this position. Most guys will never do that, and I know that, because even the guys that come to this site for the last 25 years, 95% of them will never get on a plane and go, right? I call it the 5% club, the guys that actually get over there and do it. And the vast majority of you never will. Even if you're listening right now on Monday night, and you're within the sound of my voice, and I'm talking about how great it is, and you're seeing this video and everything, you will still somehow find a reason not to go. Oh, well, this could happen, or that could happen, or my friend said this, or I know someone who went and 5 years later he got a divorce, and don't want that to happen to me. I mean, you can come up with a million different reasons not to do it. And I get it, and I understand it. It took me many, many years to get it, but now I finally understand. And it's a shame, and I haven't totally resolved myself to it, but I pretty much have. That just some of you just will always find reasons not to do things like this. And you'll find reasons not to do other things in your life too. Whether that's taking an opportunity to go start your own business, or taking an opportunity to date someone here locally, or taking an opportunity to go do some kind of crazy hobby or something. You just won't do it. You're just going to say no to all those things, and you'll live your comfortable life, and you'll complain about how there's no women and all that good stuff, and you'll just never give yourself that opportunity to do it. And unfortunately, some of you are out there. But hopefully, there's those of you that are within the sound of my voice that do want to give yourself that opportunity, that are willing to take a tiny little risk. And when I say tiny little risk, I don't think there's any risk to doing one of these tours or going over individually on a club that we're going to be talking about, because you're going to have a great vacation, if nothing else. And it's about the same price as a regular vacation, if not less. And you get so much more. So, all right, I got to start talking about the topic here, but I will take a couple questions here real quick. Joseph says they extended the quarantine to May 22nd in the Ukraine, will the offices be open? I understand that Ukraine is lightening the restrictions. Well, they're kind of lightening the restrictions, Joseph, but there still are restrictions. Our offices have been open the whole time. They're just working from home and they're doing things. So if there's a client there, we can work with that client. We can even arrange one-on-one introductions, which we have during this quarantine. So if you find yourself there in the Ukraine, make sure that you contact us, because our staff can assist you, and we have assisted clients that were there, and as well as even in Colombia, where it's even locked down much more, and we were doing one-on-one introductions during this quarantine time for the women that are open to it and willing to do it, because a lot of the women are a little concerned about it. I mean, here's a foreign guy just got off a plane from the United States who has more cases of COVID-19 than any other country in the world, and there may be a little bit of hesitation for some of the women who are a little freaked out by all the media coverage and what's going on with this. But I do think it's going to start lightening up. I do think that we're going to, be able to get over there here sooner than later. I'm really hoping for that, and we'll keep doing it the best we can. Blue wants to know, hey, what's a good translation app that one can download to use without the internet? Blue, best thing to do is to go to the site. There are a number of different ones, right? And we used to work with a company that we used to sell their apps and whatnot and their programs off the site. These would work outside of the internet, right? You can just load them on your phone or your computer and then they would work. I don't have a really good one to give you off the top of my head right now, but if you want to email me that question, john@loveme.com, I'll be happy to get a good recommendation for you over to you. Okay, I just don't have one off the top of my head right now. I'm trying to remember, what was it? Trying to remember the company that we always used to kind of rep. But there's so many different ones out there now that are really good, and the price points are a lot different on a lot of them too. But if you send me an email, I'll point you in some good directions. All right. All right. So McKissick says in the San Francisco Bay Area, the stay-at-home order has been now to extend to Memorial Day 2020. Yeah. Everyone's just, they just don't know what they don't know about this whole thing. And everyone's trying to, err on the side of caution. But then on the same token, they don't want to destroy people's lives economically. But they don't want to, kill off a ton of people either. And it's just a very, very strange, unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in right now. And yeah, they just extended ours till May 15th, but who knows how long that'll go to. I imagine they're going to extend it again for a little bit longer, and they're going to try and phase in things. So we have to play it by ear, but as soon as we can do a tour, we will. We want to do these tours. So it's not us that's stopping it. We will do it, and our staff is ready to do it. They're chomping at the bit, but it's just, it's up to the countries really and all that good stuff. So McKissick says, I heard that if the woman has a child, the biological father must sign a release for that child to leave the country. Have you ever experienced a problem with this? Well, I kind of laugh because I went through that myself with Tanya. She had a 2-year-old when I met her, and we had to deal with it. And if you ever go to one of the seminars, I will tell the story because it is kind of funny. I don't want to tell it right now because it's a very interesting story. But I will tell it at a seminar. I usually tell it at the seminars on how Tanya and I dealt with it. But yes, especially back then, you had to have the father, the biological father, sign a waiver saying that the child could leave the country indefinitely, right? And stay indefinitely in the United States or whatever country it was going to. And that was required to get the visa. I have been told recently, or not even recently, but for quite some time now, that the United States, at least, does not require that any longer. However, I think in order to get the visa, I think it's a good idea if you are bringing a child over, a minor child, and the father still has parental rights to that child, that you get something in writing from that father stating that he gives his permission for that child to live indefinitely with the mother and you in the country. That's really, really important to do, even if the United States government is not requiring it just for the visa, but it's still a good legal thing to do. And have I seen problems with that? Not usually. Unfortunately, in most of the cases, the father in whatever country it is has not really been there for the child, has not really supported the child financially or emotionally. In most of the cases, some cases he has. And if that's the case, then you have to deal with that. Just like if you met a woman in California and we're going to move to New York, you would have to deal with that issue. And figure out a way for the father to still see the child and to be in the child's life and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, in a lot of the cases overseas, the father has been totally out of that child's life, both financially and emotionally. And so it's usually not that difficult to have him sign off, especially if you're saying, look, I'm marrying, the wife is, your fiance is saying, I'm marrying this person and we're moving to the United States, for instance, and we're going to be living there indefinitely, and although you owe back child support and I could enforce it and I could do this and that, I'm willing to let all that slide if you're willing, for the best interest of the child, to sign this so that he can go and have a better life, both emotionally and financially, with this new family, with this man that I'm marrying. And most men will sign that because, hopefully they want what's best for that child. And if they haven't been involved with that child, then, this releases them from all financial responsibilities, and that's mainly what we did, and it was fine. So, usually it's not a problem because of that. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the clubs. We don't talk a lot about the clubs here. And as I said, that might be something that we're going to have to focus on a little bit more, at least at the beginning when things start to open up in the first phase or so. We may not be able to do the socials in the way that we've done them in the past for a little while. We may not be able to do the large group tours in the way we've done them in the past for a while. I'm not saying indefinitely, believe me. Sooner or later, it will all come back to the way we always have done it, right? People are going to come together. There's going to be sporting events again where fans are in the stands and all that stuff. That's all going to happen. But I'm talking within the next 30 days or so, it may be where you can go to a country, but it's going to be somewhat restricted on group sizes and things like that. And if that's the case, then the next best option from a group tour might be a club. And if you have deposits with us for group tours, those deposits work for clubs just as well. And it may be that you want to go over and experience a club. The beautiful thing about a club is that you get to pick the destination, as long as we do, clubs or tours there, and in most cases that we can. Wherever we do the group tours, you can certainly do a club, and even some places where we don't do the group tours, or there's not one scheduled for the rest of the year, you can still do a club there, which is nice. So let's say, for instance, we had to cancel our Nipro and Zap tour here in April because of this whole thing. We're not going to be able to do that again this year. But if you had your heart set on going to Nipro in April, then you can still go there, but it would have to be with a club. And so that's great. So you get to pick the destination. That's one of the beautiful things about a club. And the other beautiful thing about a club is you get to pick the time that you want to go. You're not tied to the group tour schedule like you are with our group tour schedule. Obviously, by definition, it's a group tour and it has to have a schedule so that everyone can, make their arrangements and do their dates and all that stuff. We don't have that. With the clubs, you can go anytime you want. All right, so that's fantastic. So you have, what am I trying to say here? You have the destination that you pick, you have the time that you pick, and again, you can go anytime you want. It's just dependent on, if there's some kind of major holiday going on. Like, I would not go to the Ukraine at Christmas time, okay? That's a very, very bad time to go there because it's going to be very difficult to get you dates at Christmas time or New Year's time in the Ukraine because they're partying forever. I mean, from about December 29th or so until January 15th, the Ukraine shuts down. Everybody's partying, drinking, having the time of their life. It's a blast over there, but unless you know someone and they want you to be there during that time and celebrate with their friends and family, it's not a good time to go there and just start getting to know people and start doing, initial dating, because everyone's really having fun and being busy, just like going to China during their New Year's, where their Chinese New Year, where everybody's traveling like crazy and everything. That's a terrible time to go. So we'll tell you that. But other than that caveat, it's wonderful because you get to pick the time. You get to pick the destination of where and when you want to go. And then what you do is you give us the top, say, 25 to 30 women in that particular city, okay, because the clubs are city specific. So you could do one, say, in Odessa, Ukraine, or Medellin, Colombia, or, Shenzhen, China, wherever it is. But you give us the top 25 to 30 women that you think you want to meet based on the internet, and then we will do our best to introduce you to up to 3 women a day, every day. You'll get like 3 introductions or dates a day, every day for 7, 10, or 14 days. You pick the duration too. You can do a 7-day, 10-day, or 14-day club. The accommodations, unlike the group tour, are not included in the club tour, right? So you would do your own accommodations. Now we're going to give you suggestions as to where to stay, because we don't want you staying an hour outside of the city, let's say, where you have to take a cab or something and be traveling an hour back and forth every day just to get to the office, because most of the introductions will be done in or around the office. I had a guy who was getting a really good deal because he coupled his airfare with the hotel when he was going to the Ukraine. But the thing was, he was staying by the airport. Well, the airport in the Ukraine, in Kiev, which is where he was going into Kiev, that airport is out in Borispol, which is a different city, which is a good, depending on how the traffic is, it could be easily an hour or more outside of Kiev. And so it'd be ridiculous to be doing the club and doing up to 3 introductions a day and staying an hour outside of Kiev to save a few bucks on the hotel. So you're much better off listening to our staff and getting a hotel that's very close to the office, or an apartment. Apartments are great for clubs because there's not a lot of other guys there. You're there on your own, so you're not around other guys. So there's really no necessity to stay at a hotel. You can stay in an apartment. Sometimes there are advantages to staying in an apartment over in a hotel, depending on how comfortable you are. Maybe you've been there several times, you understand the seat a little bit, and you can get around a little bit on your own, then you don't need the hotel as much, because, staying at a hotel, you have other people there. You have the hotel staff that can help you with certain things. You have breakfast cooked for you every morning. You have all that. So, if you want that kind of convenience, then the hotel might be better for you. But if you are somewhat of a seasoned traveler and you want the kind of the privacy and the comfort of an apartment, which would be a little bit larger, right? You'll have a kitchen if you want to cook for yourself, maybe, or maybe have a date where you can have her come over, you guys can cook a dinner together or something like that. And then maybe you want to consider staying in an apartment, and our staff can help you with apartments that are centrally located, close to the office, all that good stuff. So we'll help you with that. You'll give us your flight itinerary, and then you'll fly over. And our staff will pick you up, that's included, at the airport. We'll get you to the accommodations that you chose. And then, you're gonna have an itinerary with us every day. You're gonna have up to, 1, 2, or 3 introductions a day, every day while you're there, meeting the different women. So if you're there for 7 days, we're doing up to 3 introductions a day. If you do the math really quick, right? 7 times 3, that's 21 introductions. Does that mean that the club means that you absolutely get 21 introductions? No, it means that we will try to do, to the best of our ability, up to 3 introductions a day, every day. But that's dependent on a few factors, and those factors are your list of the women that you're giving us and their availability, and your availability for the time that the women who are available to go out with you, right? Because maybe the one day that she's available, you're not available because you're going out with somebody else. So, a little bit that will depend on logistics, but normally the guys will be doing at least 2, if not 3 introductions a day, every day. And usually by about the 3rd or 4th day, they're doing 2nd and 3rd introductions, right? Meetings. Not introductions at that point, but meetings with the different women that they've been seeing and trying to build those relationships. And so usually they're not doing as many uniques. Maybe they'll do, on average, I'd say somewhere between 10 to 13 or 14 introductions on any given club. I had one gentleman who went to Costa Rica, and Gustavo, and Andrea were working very, very hard with him and for him and doing lots and lots of introductions. He got back and he was kind of complaining that he had too many dates. He's like, oh my God, I was just getting too many introductions. And every day they kept giving me more and more introductions. I'm like, well, that's what they're supposed to be doing. You're giving them the list and they're doing their best to do the introductions based on your list and also based on their idea of who might be good for you too. Because once you get there and they start to get to know you a little bit and know a little bit about who you're looking for and what traits and whatnot you're looking for in the woman, they know those women very well. And they will start making suggestions for you while you're there and say, yeah, you know what, this Maria might be good for you because of this and that. And then even though she wasn't on your list, they'll ask you if that would be somebody that you might be interested in. And then if you are, they'll call her and set up a date with her as well. So it's really cool that you have this matchmaking team working for you for a whole week or 10 days or 14 days, whatever it is, personally, one-on-one. And for the price that we charge, I mean, I think that club is only about, give or take, $1,000 or so for wherever you're going. That includes a platinum membership, that includes a fiance visa kit, that includes like $50 towards express mail, that includes an airport pickup, that includes all the support while you're there, personal support from our staff members, and all the one-on-one introductions. For $1,000. I mean, that's a really, really good deal when you start comparing it to anybody else out there. Okay. All right. So there are options, right? It's not always just about the group tours. I love the group tours, don't get me wrong, and I think that we'll be able to do the group tours the way we like to do them here very soon. But if we can't do them for some time, maybe another month or two, then and if you're itching to get over and you can get over and you don't have to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks when you get there, and you can check to make sure that when you come back to the United States that you don't have to quarantine yourself again. Like if you come back from China right now to many states, they're going to force you to quarantine as well once you get back here too. So you really got to be careful about traveling. I've got people that are stuck right now, whether it's in the Philippines or in Russia or wherever it is, because they can't get out. There's no flights, there's nothing. Even if they don't have it, they can't get out. So you got to be a little bit careful right now. Get yourself out there. You got to make sure you get back, and you got to understand what the consequences are if you do travel for self-imposed quarantine and things like that. Okay. Melvin says, it's amazing that your voice is still strong after yesterday's seminar. I placed an open reservation deposit yesterday, and I can't wait for my next trip, which hopefully will be later this year. All right, Melvin. Woohoo! Good job. You were watching us yesterday, and you actually were one of the gentlemen. We had quite a few of you that put down your $475 open tour deposit and took advantage of all the wonderful seminar-only discounts that you get when you do that. So congratulations. And yeah, you could probably tell towards the end of that 4-hour stretch or so that I was losing a little bit of energy. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, and some of the people that were supposed to call in to support a little bit weren't able to do so. So it was just me, which normally doesn't happen. Usually I have other people that are talking and helping. And it's kind of tough when you're doing it in a room like this where I am right now, and there's nobody around, and it's just me and the camera. And it's not easy. I'll tell you guys, there's something to be said about this energy exchange, the power that you get from people. I really feel bad for the talk show host, Jimmy Fallon, and those guys, the talk show hosts, that have to try and do this from home, do comedy from home, and try to get that energy level up and try to talk to people without being able to feed off of their energy, without being able to have that audience, that live audience there that really helps. And even when we're doing a seminar, something as easy as a seminar, it's hard to do it and talk about it, even though I'm very passionate about it, but I see such a difference. It's so much easier and better when I'm there in front of, even if it's just 10 people. Normally it's, at least 15, 20, 25 people, and we can talk, and there's input with each other, and there's funny things happening and all kinds of stuff, and you can play off of those things. And when you're in a room by yourself with a camera, that's very difficult to do. Obviously, you just don't have that kind of energy. And that's really what I'm trying to get at, is the difference between talking on Skype with a woman and going back and forth with her and going over and meeting in person. It's night and day, guys. It's totally different. And when you're at a social and you feel all that energy, it's like plugging into an electrical outlet. You just feel supercharged, and you're in this environment with all these people and all these beautiful women, and the smells of the perfume and the sound of the light music that's being out there, and the lighting and all these senses that are happening. There's no substitution for that, right? You can talk about doing online socials and speed dating and all that stuff, but it's just not the same as being in a real live social, or being at least face to face on a date with a woman. And guys, I'll tell you, we're about the only website out there that still is really pushing that. Most of these sites are happier than can be because, oh, well, you can't go over. Well, but they don't want you to go over anyway. Most of their ideal business models is when the man and the woman never meet anyway. And so most of these sites are just happy as can be right now that you can't travel. Not us. We're still trying to push you guys to go over as soon as you can, when you can, and we want you to get in front of these women and feel that energy in that room, feel alive again, I could go on and tell you about the metamorphosis I've seen in some of these men that have not dated for several years, and then they finally go over with us and they walk into that room, and all of a sudden it just changes, like a switch went off, like they were reborn, and their confidence just starts to grow and grow. By the second or third social, they're just old hat at this, and they're talking to the women, and then they're going out on dates, and they're buying flowers. I mean, I see them walking to the store, getting the flowers, getting ready for the date. They haven't done that in years, some of these guys. Now, some of the men that go on our tours date all the time, and they're just not finding what they're looking for here, and so they're going on our tour. So they're used to the dating, they're used to all that, but some of the men haven't dated in a while. And to see them come around and come out of their shell and buy those flowers and buy the candy for the woman's mother that they're going to meet, right? And going to that house to have that dinner and whatnot. It's priceless, guys. It's priceless to watch. I love it. It's one of the best things. And I love staying up late, midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, watching the guys come home, so to speak, to the hotel and start talking to them about their dates. And they don't want to go to sleep. We'll have a beer or something, and they'll start talking about it, and they'll talk about it with the other guys, especially at breakfast the next morning too. It's just so much fun. It really is. All right, I got to keep going. I'm really not giving you any good information. I'm just kind of jabbering around here. So let's see here. McLean wants to know, do women have to pay as we do to send a letter back to us? No, they do not. As usual, the men pay and the women do not. But we do not and have never charged the women to use the service. And that was actually a little bit of an issue in China, because the women were used to paying on other sites, really used to it in China. And when we started expanding there and we offered the service for free, we weren't charging the women, because usually in most places we go to, the economic disparity is there, and the men do have more money and can afford it, and the women, for the most part, couldn't. But in China, it's probably where the women are most affluent than anywhere else we go. And when we told them they didn't have to pay, they looked at it like something was wrong. Like, what do you mean? And it was very difficult for us to get the concept across to them that they did not have to do that. It took some time, but they finally started to realize that, and now it's worked out really well there. But yeah, okay. Keep going here. Joe's talking about questions about IMBRA, and actually normally we do try to do it in person now as much as possible, but if you want to call and talk to me privately, I'll see what we could do. There's certain exceptions sometimes they can make if the woman is open to it, but most women want to meet in person for the most part before they'll sign IMBRA, and once they meet in person, then they're normally okay with it. And that's the beautiful thing about going on the tours, guys, is that you can exchange as much contact information as you want, and we push you to do that so that you can start talking to these women directly and outside of the site. Okay. Let's see. Let me keep going here. And lots of questions here. Chuck says, you said last time that Ukrainian ladies want to explore their femininity. Can you explain what you mean by that for us guys? All right. You know, every country is not the same. Every culture is not the same. And I think it is amazingly useful, beneficial, helpful for men and women for that matter, from one country to travel to other countries, to start to see the differences in the way people act, in their views, in their thinking, especially when it comes to dating, especially when it comes to the roles that men and women play in each other's lives, because it is absolutely different from country to country, right? And so when I talk about the femininity scale, basically, and the differences, well, let's take the Ukraine, for instance. When you get off that plane, there is going to be no doubt in your mind, no question whatsoever, that these women want to be treated as women, that the femininity level is off the charts, the way they carry themselves, the way they walk, the way they talk. And any of you men who have been over there can testify to this, can vouch for this, right? When you get off, you feel like you've just landed in this different world and you're in this like fashion show. My wife was really surprised when she came here. She saw the difference. She came here 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. We've been married now for 21 years. She came from Russia. And the way she was raised, the way that she was taught on how she needs to dress when she goes out in public, what she needs, how she needs to act, all those things. When she came here, and she went to a store, I won't mention any names, but all of a sudden she's like, oh my God. I mean, I went to this store and, there were women dressed in pajamas and rollers in their hair. I mean, you would almost get arrested if you went out like that in public in Russia. And if anybody that knew you saw you like that, they would call, she was saying they would call my mother and say, there's something wrong with your daughter. She went crazy. I mean, I saw her in the store in pajamas. And I mean, they just don't do that, right? And even men dress much better than we do here. So the dress is one thing, but then it's deeper than that. Yeah, the women work really hard. You see from the videos, you look at this. I mean, they come to these socials. Look how they dress at these socials. It's really, really important to them. But guys, when they go out on dates, when they're walking down the streets, you'll see them dressing pretty much like this as well. It's just how they are, how they act over there. But again, it goes deeper than just the dressing. It goes into their mindset of how they want to be treated. They want to be a woman. They embrace womanhood. They embrace femininity. They want to be that. It doesn't mean they're weak. Don't mistake femininity with weakness. They're very strong. These women are very strong. I think they hold, now I'm talking about the Ukraine in general, but this really can be extrapolated to Colombia or Costa Rica or many other places that we go to, not just the Ukraine, but there's footage right now from the Ukraine, so I'm talking about that. But these women are holding the Ukraine together. I think they're the glue that holds everything together. A lot of men there have said, screw this. I don't want the responsibility of family. I don't want the responsibility of marriage. I don't need the economic hassle. I don't need all that. It's very difficult here. And the alcoholism problem is off the charts there. It's really, really high, and it's a shame, but it's true. And men treat women much differently there than Western men do. So these women are very, very strong, and I have an enormous amount of respect for them, but they also want to be very, very feminine. They want the man to be the man. They want the woman to be the woman, and they want the man to take charge in the relationship. They want him to be decisive, to be the man, to be clever, to be able to provide for the family, to be able to do those kind of things. That's what they want. It's kind of like if you go back in time here in the United States. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with women here. I'm really not. I'm not bashing women. I never have. In 25 years, there's wonderful American women here. But I think the women, too, will attest to the fact that the roles in the United States between men and women have been muddled. They've been confused. They've been overlapped. And a lot of times men here in the United States don't know how to address women here, how to treat women, how to compliment them, how to go out on dates even, and what the women expect. Do they want you to cry? Do they want you to be strong? Do they want you, what do they want? Whereas when you're in the Ukraine, for instance, you have no doubt in your mind how to treat the women. you have no doubt in your mind that she wants to be the woman. She wants to be pampered. She wants to be put up a little bit on a pedestal. She wants to be that femininity, and she wants you to be strong. She wants you to be the man. She wants you to be masculine, you know, to offset her femininity, to play to that. Now, does that mean that they want you to hit them over the head and be dominant and make all the decisions without any input from them? And no, they want, and you should elicit their opinions and their information and their ideas of what should be done in the family and how to move forward. But they, at the end of the day, they want you to make those decisions, and they want to be equal. They want to have a say in it, but they want you to be the man. They want you to move forward and be forceful and, you know, take charge in that family. Hope I'm explaining it right? Because it's kind of delicate. And when you go over, I think you get a much better understanding of what I'm talking about. It's just that it's just much more well-defined between the sexes than what it is here. And it's just changed here. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, you know, this is the first time in our country's history where we have more single households than married households. And the average age of married couples is getting older and older. People are putting off marriage more and more here. It's not so much the case in these other countries. Women still want to get married. They still want to have a family, but they're family members and everything. So, yeah. Okay, I hope I got that out properly for you. All right. Quentin going on. It's health women as well. But I swear he had a pharmacy with him. I mean, we're and in Belarus, they really look at things very, very carefully, right? They're checking everything, and they're pulling stuff out, and he's pulling all this medication stuff out of his carry-on, and I swear it was like Walgreens. He had a pharmacy in there with everything, and that wasn't everything. He had more stuff in his check bag, but he had prescriptions for everything, and he was okay, but yeah, you want to be careful. All right. Larry wants to know, John, what should men be cautious about in meeting the women in Ukraine? Are there any schemes to be aware of? Oh, yes, the schemes. Okay, look, Larry, no matter where you're going to go dating, I don't care if it's in the Ukraine or Colombia or the United States or anywhere, there's always going to be good, bad, and ugly. And there's going to be different forms of it and different ways that people could possibly take advantage of you. I was talking about that today with the gentleman I was talking about earlier, who can't wait to get back over there, and his friend was saying, oh yeah, people could take advantage of you, and he was kind of laughing. He's like, yeah, of course they can, but they could take advantage of me in Texas as well, just as easily. So you got to be always keeping your eye out, have your eyes open for any possible red flags that might show up. If you talk to our staff before you go over, especially if you're taking a group tour with us or a club tour, they're going to give you a lot of good advice for things to look out for, to be on the lookout for. It's like in the Ukraine, for instance, I'll share something with you real quick here, but there's lots of different things that can possibly happen, both on the male and the female side. Okay, let's get that straight too. We always talk, well, these women might take advantage of me. Well, guys, in 25 years, I've seen a lot of cases where the men were taking advantage of the women as well. We're human beings, and unfortunately, from time to time, there are going to be people that will take advantage of you no matter what gender you are, and it can happen. And when you're dealing with as many different human beings as we deal with, it's going to happen one way or the other. So you do have to be careful, but if you listen to our staff and you pay attention to what they're saying, you can save yourself a lot of time, trouble, money, by not falling into some of the easy traps. One of them in the Ukraine, in some cities like Odessa, Kiev, maybe Kharkov to a certain extent, they have, and this has kind of popped up over the last few years, it's called a restaurant scam, where you'll have a case where you go to a restaurant and the woman might even be participating in it, where she'll have a deal where if you go to this kind of restaurant, you're a foreigner, all of a sudden you get this foreign menu, which you don't know is really a foreign menu, but it has prices that are much higher than the regular menu. And the more you spend, the more commission, so to speak, that the woman might be able to get. And we've seen that problem pop up in some certain cities. And we've dealt with it really, really well, I think. Our staff does a great job of identifying restaurants that participate in that. And we have what's called a blacklist of restaurants that we feel that you probably should not go to. And if the woman suggested you go to those restaurants, then you should change it to one that's on the approved list. And we have a list of restaurants that we say, okay, these restaurants we've never experienced these kind of issues with, and they are probably fairly honest and on the up and up to go to. And if the woman does not want to go to one of those and insist on going to one of the ones that are notorious for having issues, then you should probably let us know about that, and then we'll look into it further, and then we might end up even removing her from the site if we feel that she has other agendas in mind, right? So that's one issue that can happen and you need to look out for, but it's not the end of the world, guys. Don't be ultra paranoid. Yes, there can be some issues like that can happen, but the upside, the wonderful things that can happen to you far outweigh any of those stupid little things that can happen. So if you just pay attention to what's going on, listen to our staff. They do a really good job of kind of helping you navigate through the landmines that can be there. Just like if you had someone here in the United States where you meet people on domestic websites, there's landmines there as well. And if you had someone helping you navigate those, you'd probably save a lot of effort and time too. But you don't for the most part. But here you do, which is great. And so if there are problems, the staff is really good at trying to alleviate those and help you and even resolve them. I mean, we tell guys, hey, if, for instance, on that restaurant thing, if you're at a restaurant and you feel that you're getting taken advantage of, call us and we will speak with the management before you pay anything and make sure that we unwind any transactions that shouldn't have been there. We've done that. We've had guys call us at midnight, 1 in the morning, and I can think of cases where Anna in Odessa got out of her pajamas, dressed, and went to the restaurant to save the day, so to speak, and make sure that the client wasn't going to, fall into any kind of trap. And that's cool. That's why you go with a company like this, to help solve some of those problems that can happen. There's other stupid little things that can happen, and we advise you about those things and try to help you as much as possible. And if you ever think like anything like that's taking place, then you let us know. But guys, we've had to kick men off the tour as well for taking advantage of women in certain ways too. So it can go both ways. And I have a ton of respect for the vast majority of women that use this service. So I kind of hate even talking about these things, because although I know, and I'm the first one to say, there's going to be good, bad, and ugly on every tour you go on. You're going to have good dates, bad dates, and all kinds of stuff. And yes, every once in a while there may be someone out there that their intention may be to try to take advantage of you. But if, again, you are realistic about your expectations and you listen to our staff, you can have an amazing time, and a time that just may change your life forever. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's keep going here. It's getting a little late and we still have questions here, so I'm going to keep moving here, try to quickly here. Derek says, I'm going to Ukraine because I'm tired of dating my cousins. I love it. He says, just kidding. Yeah. Guys, try to keep in mind that this is also a wonderful social experience. You're going over, yes, to try to meet a woman, hopefully that you can spend the rest of your life with. And I hope that happens. I really, really do. And it does happen for a lot of our guys. It happened for me. Happened for a lot of people I know. And it can happen. But you're also going to have an amazing social experience. You're going to meet a lot of wonderful women. You're going to meet a great staff, mainly women, who will help you, and you'll probably make good friends with them. You'll even meet some of the other guys. Even if you're there on a club tour, you might be some other guys that are there during your time. You'll probably get to meet them, and you'll make good friends with them. And you're meeting just regular people walking down the street in these crazy places like Shenzhen, China, or Bangkok, Thailand, or Costa Rica, San Jose, or Kiev, Ukraine, or Sumy, Ukraine, or wherever the heck it is you're going. Think about the adventure you're going to have. Just the adventure alone is well worth the price of admission. And any guys that you talk to that have taken our tours will tell you that. Yeah, maybe I didn't meet my wife. Maybe I didn't meet the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with, but I got my money's worth. I had a wonderful time on the tour. And to me, that's really, really important. And if you think in those terms, then it's really, really hard to go wrong, because you're going to have a lot of fun, and we will deliver everything we tell you we're going to deliver. We'll do what we say we're going to do. But you don't hear me up here, saying, I guarantee that you're going to meet your wife on this tour. We guarantee this. No, we don't. And if a company ever tells you that, turn around and run fast, because no one can guarantee that. We don't control these women. We're not giving them, some mandate that they have to marry someone within a certain amount of time or anything like that. That's one of the most important and most difficult decisions you're ever going to make on who it is you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And that's not easy because it is a mutual decision. It takes two to tango. It takes two to make this happen. And you cannot force that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in its own timetable, right? In its own way. What we do is we speed up everything. We give you kind of the Reader's Digest version. We get you in there and we do what you couldn't do on your own in a matter of 10 days or 7 days or 14 days or whatever it is. And we give you so much more opportunity than you ever would have had on your own. And it would have taken you years to get the kind of numbers and do the kind of dates and do what you would have maybe tried to have done on your own in one of these countries, that when you go with us, we just boom, it's all done for you, set up for you. There's no way you could have done that on your own in that condensed time frame that we do. That's what we do for you, and we do a very good job of that. But can we guarantee that you're going to meet your wife on one of these tours? Absolutely, positively not. And again, any company that's telling you that, you should be looking at them with a very hard jaundiced eye of what's really going on here. All right. Gregory says, is there any way you see Ukraine being reachable by Americans as soon as this month? May? Probably not. I don't think so. We were thinking about trying to do a tour in May when we had to cancel our April tour, and then we quickly understood that that wasn't going to happen. So I doubt it. I don't think you're going to be able to go over this month. Maybe at the end of the month, maybe, in some way. But to do the tours and everything, I doubt it. All right. Patrick. Hi, John. A club is a great idea for everyone to do. That is where I met my wife from the Philippines. Oh, so I don't even read these things. I'm just reading it. That's just a question that the other guys may want to know. Are there some countries doing mandatory quarantine for travelers when they arrive? I hear, right, that there is some countries that are doing this. From Patrick. Well, Patrick, first of all, congratulations. I wish I had my audience in here. I have my sound effects. I'm hurting in here. It's tough doing this all by yourself in the room, but I'll do it again. Congratulations, Patrick. I think it's wonderful. You did a club. You met your wife. You're married now. And I'll tell you, clubs are wonderful. They can work. I like the group idea of the group tours because of the socials and all the energy and everything that's going on in there every day and everything. So I do like that. But don't get me wrong, the clubs are very effective. You're going out on date after date after date, and the staff is working with you one-on-one, personal, and they know these women personally. So the clubs can be and are very effective. And Patrick's saying he met his wife via a club that he took with us, and that's great. And yes, to answer your question, there are some countries that are requiring a mandatory quarantine when you arrive, and I know China is one of them, and I know if you can even get into China, and I know the Philippines is another that is very difficult right now. You can't even get into it, but if you did, and Colombia, same thing. So most of them are going to require, I think, some kind of a mandatory quarantine, and not just when you go, but possibly when you come back. You might be told when you come back here that you have to mandatory quarantine. What's his name? Mike. And I was just talking to him again. I still haven't had a chance to do the Skype with him about his wonderful experience on the tour that he did with us in the Philippines, and he just got out before they started the mandatory quarantine. But when he came back, and he had a COVID test done on him with paperwork showing him that he did not have COVID-19 just before he got on the plane in the Philippines. And then when he got back to New York, they were going to force him to mandatory quarantine for 2 weeks in New York when he got back. But then he showed him that paperwork saying that, and the date and everything, and I think that they laid off on that. But if he didn't have that, he would have had a mandatory quarantine in New York. So even on your return in the United States, you might be subject to mandatory quarantine as well. So the international travel thing is tough. It's level 4 right now, according to the State Department, which is red, and it's really, really difficult. So, yeah. All right. So we're already at our normal time for ending, but We have many more questions, and I've just been kind of going off, so I'm going to keep it trying to answer your questions. Dave from Rochester says, I understand things are difficult right now. We are 8 weeks from the July tour, which I was going to do. When are you going to be making a decision on if they are still going to happen? Later this month or in June? My job is now giving me difficulty with taking 4 weeks off in July, and I needed to possibly rearrange things. I was thinking of calling you to talk more. Yeah, Dave, you should probably call and talk to me. We can talk, a little bit more at length about this. I can't tell you right now what's going to happen for July. I'm hoping that we can do the tours in July in the Ukraine. I really am. We are now in May 4th. I'm hoping by the end of May, which would be, about a month and a half out, I'm hoping to know whether or not we can do these tours. If I know sooner, we'll definitely tell you, right? Yeah, we are definitely doing these tours. And it's hard for us because we have a lot of planning to do. We have venues and hotels and all kinds of things that we have to deal with too. So it's hard for everybody right now. But all I can tell you is as we speak right now, we are planning on doing those tours in July. Okay, we're planning on it. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. Is it going to happen in a kind of different restricted way? I don't know. We might have to do maybe more socials, but smaller socials so that we don't violate any kind of group gathering rules that they might impose. I don't know. It's something I've never had to deal with in 25 years of doing this. And I think, we're trying to do our best. I know we're trying to do our best, but we'll see. So call me, Dave. I'll be happy to talk to you. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give you a whole lot more information I have now. I know I will be talking to the staff. Right now, I'm, concentrating on my tours in June, and I'm not sure how those are going to go. So, we'll see. But do you all still go to Costa Rica? I never see videos from there. We'd like to know. Yes, Rick, we do go to Costa Rica. Yet our video production from there has been a little lacking. Although I think we got a little bit better video from the last tour that we just did there. So you might want to check with that, and I'll check with Kirk to see if we can get some more video up and get with his team to get those out more. On a club tour, do I have to pay for a translator separately, or is it part of the package? No, you do have to pay for a translator separately outside the initial meeting. The initial meeting, they'll help you with the translation, but if you're going out to a restaurant or something like that, then, and if she needs a translator, then yes, of course, you'd have to have the translator. I mean, if we included that, that'd be a very, very great deal, but unfortunately, we can't do that. Although the good news is that, many of the women can speak English to a certain level, and after a first or second date, they become more comfortable with it, and so it's a little bit easier to deal with, and some of them may be okay with just like a translator type tool that you can use to go back and forth with. Okay, James Taylor, you were on yesterday, James. How you doing, sir? Hello again. Do you have a price list for your club package? Yes, it is on the site, actually. If you click on Romance Tours on Lumbee.com and go to the individual tours, you'll see the price list for all the different clubs on there. I really like that option. Would like to know how much you charge for it. And again, it's about $1,000, give or take, for most destinations for a 7-day club. Where are you? I'm trying to do the math on that for what it costs, and with my faulty math, I want to know as much as possible. Scary thing is that I'm a teacher. Yeah, I get that. I'll tell you, James, I think that the group tours you get more bang for your buck. I mean, the accommodations are included, the socials are included, just the whole gestalt of the whole thing. I think there's just more value in a group tour, and it's a great value, but the clubs are a great value too. Don't get me wrong, they're still a very, very good value. It's just that, to me, the group tour is even better value, but they're both amazing values, and there's no better value out there for singles men's travel, as I was saying yesterday, than the group tour or the club. I just happen to like the group tour better, probably because I met my wife through a group tour, right? I met her at a social during a group tour, and I love it. I think it's great. So Ryan wants to know, what would you suggest? Would you suggest staying in a hotel or Airbnb on a club tour visit? Depends on your level of comfort. You know, if you're kind of a newbie and you need a little more assistance and everything, and you're not as comfortable in a foreign country and you need a little bit more support, I would suggest a hotel, because the hotel has staff there 24/7, right? And they're going to be there for you and take care of you. I mean, we're going to be there too, but we're not in the hotel or your apartment with you. We're there working with you during the day and everything, and you'll have our contact information. So even if you're in an apartment and something happens at midnight, you can call our staff, because they're so amazing. They do such a great job that they will help you even if it's after hours. But if you want that safety of the hotel where there's someone there with you all the time, and if you just need something like room service or something like that, it's just right there, easy peasy, then a hotel might be a little bit better for you. But some guys like the privacy and the extra maybe I don't know, features of an apartment, right? There's laundry that you can do there yourself. There's a kitchen. There's just more room. And so, but it is an apartment, and you're, you know, on your own at the apartment. There's no one there that's going to be helping you like at the front desk. So it really does depend on your level of comfort with the country and travel and where you're at on what's best for you. If it's your first time ever going over, I would probably suggest staying at the hotel just to be on the safe side. And then once you're a little bit more comfortable, then I would suggest an apartment, because they're great. They're nice, they're large, and they're wonderful. God, we stayed at this beautiful Airbnb apartment in Lima, Peru, when we went there a couple summers ago, and oh my God, this apartment overlooked the Love Park, where they jump off the cliff and they're doing the hang gliding and stuff, and it's a beautiful park, and then there's a whole restaurant district there, and this apartment was huge, and it was less than the price of the hotel, and it was an amazing bargain. So you can get some really good deals on Airbnb, but Airbnb is usually better if you can stay for at least 3 days or longer. If you're just going to be there, which you're going to do anyway if you do a club, but if you're only there for a day or two, by the time you pay for all the extra charges and the cleaning and all that, you're usually better off at a hotel price-wise. But if you're going to be there for over 3 days, so you're going to be there for a week, Airbnb is usually a better deal price-wise too, and more room and everything. Okay. All right. McKissick says, are the girls that come to the social screened in any way? Well, you know, the girls that come to the socials need to be registered on the site when they come, and then we do the whole, we've talked about how they're screened and the vetting process to get them on the site and all that. Now, there will be some women that will come new to the social, and so they're filling out the information and everything for us, and so we have all that, but they may not have gone through the whole screening process yet if they're coming very, very new, and so there may be a small portion there that, although they fill out the application, we haven't done everything yet, but we know who they are, obviously, we've got their government ID and all that. But we don't do background checks on the women, just like we don't do, you know, background checks on the men, in the sense that if a man tells us he's like a doctor, we don't go and check to make sure he's a doctor. If a woman tells us she's a doctor, we're not going to check to see if she's a doctor. That kind of thing. Even in criminal background checks, we're asking the men to give us that information, and we, you know, in the form of that IMBRA declaration, we give that to the women, but we're not verifying that information. And we tell the women that we don't verify it, and, you know, he could be lying to us, and we tell the women that he could be lying, that kind of thing. All right. Buford says, I'm trying to choose between Cartagena in July or Barranquilla in September. I'm looking forward to the trip. Cool. And the good thing there, Buford, is those two cities aren't that far apart. You know, so if you go to one and there's a woman or two that you really want to see in the other one, it's really not that much of a stretch to get to the other one. It's like an hour and a half drive. So they're really close. So that's the good news. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Pick one and go and have fun. If there's someone you really want to meet in one of the other cities, Maria and her ACE staff can work that out for you. John, do you speak fluent Russian/Ukrainian? Derek wants to know. Da. Очень хорошо. No. You would think, after 23 years of being with my wife and having offices and going to the Ukraine and everything, that I would have this down by now. But I'm a little thick, I guess, and I just don't do very well with foreign languages. And when I first met my wife, I did come back and I did hire an interpreter, and I asked her to teach me certain phrases that I wanted to go back and impress Tanya with, and she did that for me, and I did go back and I did impress Tanya with that, and then she married me, and then I didn't learn anything else. So shame on me, it really is, because I would love to know that language. much better than I do. I've got little phrases and what that I can get by on, but no, I do not have conversational Russian or Spanish or Chinese, and I would love to have that. And I envy the guys that can pick it up a lot easier and quicker and do it. And they probably do work at it, but some of them do have an aptitude for it, which I just, I was in the wrong line when they were passing out that skill, unfortunately. I can't even master English yet, as you can tell from this web chat, but I'm working on it still. All right. I see in quite a few pictures and videos that women are wearing rings on their wedding finger. Is that common? See a wedding ring on a ring finger and I'm turning away. Don't do that, Tim, because in Eastern Europe, it's the total opposite finger that the wedding band goes on, right? So, you know, it's not that left finger, I guess it is. In Russia, Ukraine, it's the other finger that it goes on, the other hand. So you'll see rings that you think are on the ring finger, so to speak. But again, different culture, different rules, and yeah, so that's another thing. And that's a great thing, Tim. And you're not the only one that makes that mistake. And I'm not, beating up on you in any way, shape, or form. But I will tell you that, again, you got to leave your preconceived ideas behind on what you think is normal behavior. Like, hey, I'm going to see this woman, I'm going to really impress her and give her a dozen roses. So you go up and you whip out these beautiful dozen roses and you give it to the woman in the Ukraine, and she looks at you with a look like, what the hell are you doing? Because, an even number of roses are meant for very sad occasions, for funerals and things like that. It's very, very bad luck to give a woman a dozen roses in the Ukraine or Russia. You just don't do it. All these years, whenever I buy flowers for my wife, I always have to take out a flower and give one to my daughter, that's one, and then the other 11 to my wife. That way I can cover both bases right away. And me being kind of the cheap guy that I am, I give her 11 roses, which is odd, which is good, and then one to my daughter, which is odd, which is good. See, that works out very well for me. But it's just these different customs. And that's one of the cool, enriching things that you get to experience when you go into international dating. I don't care if it's Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe. They've all got their different idiosyncrasies, their superstitions, their food likes, dislikes, their culture. And you get to be a part of that. And it enriches your life in so many different ways that you'll never understand. Kirk and I were lucky enough to have one of our clients call us from China. He went over, he was writing a woman, he met her, he went over, stayed with her for months, married her over there, and then finally brought her back here. And he only lives about 90 miles north of us. And so we went and met him, and he was telling us about how it just changed his life. All these different Chinese customs and all this stuff. I mean, it was so cool. There they are right there. Yeah, you'll see. It was really neat for him, this American guy, to go to China and live in China with her family and get to know her family and all this stuff. And then Greg, you'll see him there. He went to the Philippines. He was a confirmed bachelor. Oh, I'm never going to get married to someone. He came back down on one knee, proposing to her. And now they have children together or a child together and doing great, right? Greg's a great guy. His life has changed so much and become so enriched from the Filipino culture, the food. He talks about all the food, all the different stuff. This is international dating. This is so cool. All that crap about mail order bride and this stuff, it's just ridiculous media crap. But when you really get into the heart of it, the real meaning of what it is for guys who are serious that go over and then, find that one woman and then get married and have in-laws and family members who are now from a different country and they understand these customs and things. It's just so cool. And I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Where did I get this? Oh, the wedding ring thing, yeah. I'm really going off on tangents tonight, guys. I'm really sorry. I think it's from yesterday, still talking all of that time. And now it's getting really late again, so I'm going to keep trying to go here. In Colombia or Ukraine, how does the girl's family typically respond to the man once they start getting serious? Okay, that's a great question. And I'll tell you, if the family is on board with you and you should work you should work hard at the beginning to get the family on board with you. And if they're on board with you, then it's fantastic because they're going to support you and they're going to help you. They want their daughter to be happy. No. Do they want their daughter to move to another country where they're not going to be able to see her as much and all that? Absolutely not. But they're not selfish, and they want their daughter to be happy. And if what's going to make their daughter happy is to marry a foreign guy and move to another country, then that's what they want for their daughter. And they will support their daughter in that. Now, if they feel that you're not the right guy for their daughter, for whatever reason, maybe the age difference is too much or there's something going on, then there's going to be a problem there. And you have to work hard at changing their mind, because one of the things you guys tell us all the time is that you want women who are family oriented. You want women whose family is important. Well, guess what? That's their family, all right? That's part of their family, right? Their parents and their friends even. And if their parents feel that there's a problem here, they're going to listen to their parents, because that's just how they've been brought up. And so I've helped clients over the years, how should we say, subtly change the parents' minds about them and get the parents' blessing to marry. I can think of clients that I've had to help them write letters to the parents, to the father, explaining why they want the father's blessing and how they are going to treat that woman and how, you know, how much they love her and all this stuff in order to get the father's blessing, where the father was not on board with the family, with the marriage. And if the father was not on board with the marriage, that marriage was not going to happen. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes, you know, the parents just are steadfast that this is not a good thing, and it does end the relationship. And I've seen that happen too. But in certain cases, we were able to change it. I remember being on the phone with this woman's mother. The woman wanted me to talk to her mother about one of our clients who was there trying to marry her daughter. And the mother was not crazy about this. And I was actually, because I had known this client somewhat, and I was talking to the mother about it and just sharing my views, at least for what I thought was going on. And ultimately, the mother was okay with it, and they got married. So parents are a big deal. Absolutely. Okay. And by the way, guys, if you are involved with a woman and you get invited to the parents' house, which is a huge sign. I mean, that's a big sign. If she wants you to come meet the family, basically meet the parents, woohoo! I mean, that's a big deal. And it is, I mean, I don't care where it is, China, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ukraine. I remember when I went to meet Tanya's mother, and I came over there and they had this spread. You would have thought I was like, I don't know, some royalty or something. I mean, you know, they don't have much, right? I mean, not a lot of money and stuff like that, but the food, I mean, that they put out everywhere, and all this stuff going on, and the people that were coming over because I was being introduced was amazing. And I've heard story after story about guys who have gone to meet the parents, so to speak, and they're nervous what to bring, you know, candy for the mother, maybe a bottle of alcohol for the father, whatever it is. And then they go, and that meeting is huge and means a lot to them. And there's certain protocols that you need to follow when you do that. And our staff will tell you what to do and what not to do. And you got to be careful you don't offend someone, because again, you're dealing with a different culture. And you know, especially like in the Ukraine, they give you a shot of vodka. You know, there's ways, if you really don't want to drink, that you can decline that. But in other ways, if you do, you got to be careful you don't offend the father and those kind of things. I mean, it just goes on and on. So there's these certain social cues, social protocols that you want to make sure you follow, and you want to talk to our staff before you go to her house for dinner and that kind of stuff. But it's such an amazing experience. I hope it's one that all of you get to experience. All right. Whew. What is the setting for your socials? Are the men always moving table to table? Speed dating? Well, there's, you know, depending on where you go, you know, it's going to be either more formal, more speed dating-ish, than a little bit less formal, and still moving from table to table, but not as formal, not as directed. So it just really depends. Ukraine's a little less formal. Philippines, China, it's a little bit more formal. Latin America, it's a little bit more in between. So it really depends where you are and how formal it's going to be. And size matters too. I mean, if we're in, like I was just in February in Ukraine, we had 470 women there. 40-some guys. I mean, when you have that many people doing something, it's really hard to do a formal speed dating. So you're given, at every one of our events, you are given a matchmaker / interpreter who's at your side throughout the whole evening, and they're helping you navigate from table to table. So you're not on your own. You're not just thrown into this social event and, you know, left to swim or sink or swim, or whatever that saying is. You know, you're with a lot of other people that will support and help you. Okay. I'm going way late here. They're going to get mad. I'm going to get letters and cards and all kinds of things, and they're not going to let me do these things anymore, which is probably good for you guys, because I'm sure you want Dina and Ann and other people back, which will happen here, I think, very soon. But yeah. Doug is saying from Memphis, the young lady and I have been communicating. Her birthday's coming up on the 17th. I plan to send her some flowers and champagne. Wonderful, she'll love that. I also want to set up a phone call. How far in advance do I need to do all this, since her birthday is on Sunday? I don't expect this to happen. So basically, if you're saying it's not till the 17th, you've got a little bit of time here. I would put the gift order in at least 4 or 5 days before her birthday, and then if you want to put it on there, please deliver on her birthday, we can do that. And then for the phone call, again, I would try to set that up at least 4 or 5 days prior to her birthday. And if you want to try and set up for her birthday, we can do that as well. Is that list of restaurants available to us? Bill, if you're going to the Ukraine, let me know and we'll do that. I mean, I've had restaurants from the Ukraine contact us and ask us to take us off the bad list. Okay, we have like a bad list and a good list, and please take us off your bad list. You know, we have new management now and that kind of stuff. But the proof is in the pudding. You know, when we see that they're actually not doing that kind of stuff anymore, then we'll do that. And it's always a cat and mouse game, and they may come up with some other way to try and finagle or do things. And I get it. Everyone's trying to make a buck. Ukraine, it's a tough place, and there's a different culture, a different mindset, more of the live for today mentality. Doesn't matter about tomorrow, reputation, all that stuff. Get what you can get right away, that kind of thing. And we look at it from a more long-term reputation, that kind of thing. And that's what we're trying to instill in these restaurants. And some of the restaurants on the good list have actually even given us like coupon books that we can give to our clients, so that when they go, not only do they not get overcharged, they get like a 10% discount back to them that they can use, which I think is really cool. Because Tanya and I did that years and years ago in St. Peter's, where we had this whole big discount coupon book put together that we gave to all the tour clients when they came. So if they frequented certain restaurants, they got like 10 or 20% discounts or 2-for-1 meals or things like that, kind of like the entertainment book. Because Tanya, my wife, is huge on coupons, and so she always wants to use discounts and stuff, and we thought it would be a good idea way back then for clients, and we still do. Much better than getting ripped off and having to pay 2, 3, 4, 5 times what you normally would pay at a restaurant. And I've seen some really bad situations there, and it didn't even involve any of the women from our site or anything like that, but I've heard of clients like in certain other areas of the Ukraine, getting stuck for $1,500 bills at the restaurant and being forced to pay it with their credit card. And that's just absolutely ridiculous and should not happen. And it gives the whole country a bad name. And so we work to try to change that, resolve that. So if you're going over and you want that list of restaurants, Bill, send me an email, john@lumbee.com, and I'll get that for you, and I'll be happy to give it to you. And yeah, just be careful when you're over there. All right. I'm just running out of time, guys. So if James is asking, why did some of the guys that were taken off, why did some of the guys do that were taken off tours? Inappropriate actions to women that they shouldn't have done, that no one should do. And if they do that on one of our tours, it's just not tolerated. And so we gave them back their money and told them that they had to leave the tour. Probably didn't even have to give them back their money, really, but I just, there's certain things I'm just not going to tolerate. And over 25 years, we've had very, very few incidences like that, but it can happen. But there's other things that men have done. I've had that are not as, how shall I say, excessive to where we've had to actually kick them off a tour. But I've had clients, I've had men that have, taken advantage of women in other ways, like pretending to be engaged when they're really not, just so they can go and have sex and play around and do stuff like that. That's really not nice and should not be doing that. And so, we've had to ban men from the service for doing things like that. And I had one guy who was engaged to 3 different women at the same time in Colombia, in the same city, and they all found out of each other. Not a very good thing to do, right? And he was promising them that he was going to take them, each one to Texas. Gave them the same kind of ring, each one. Yeah, really smart, huh? Just stupid stuff like that. So guys, there's a few, I just can't get to all the questions here and we're already like a half hour past. I really got to go, but if I did not get to your question tonight, I apologize, but I'll be happy to answer. If you want to email me, I'd be happy to do that. And, or call in, I'll be happy to talk to you. Things have still been very busy around here, and we're getting guys there signing up and getting ready to go. But like I said, if you have a passport issue right now, you want to get on that as soon as possible with a real company that helps you with passports, like Passport Express or something like that. And I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not recommending one over the other, but that's one that I think I used in the past was Passport Express, I think, .com or something like that, that always got my passport renewed really, really quickly and easy, or took care of my visa. Visa Express is another one. I think they take care of passports as well, whatever, but just watch out for that, because that can be a trap you might follow, and you might think you'll be able to go on a tour, and then, oh, my passport's expired. Oh, it's going to take me 6 months to try and get one again, because they really have cut back processing those passports. It worries me. Gentlemen, it's been fun. I wish I had better information right now on this whole COVID thing, on when you can start going back over again. I know everyone's getting really itchy to get moving again, and so am I. But as soon as I'm getting itchy just to get a haircut, and my hair's getting really bad. I think they're going to start opening again pretty soon too. But I'd love to get back over there. I'm glad I was able to go in February. That was great, but I'd love to be able to get back over there again. So as soon as that's opened up again, we'll be doing it. Till then, be safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you again next week. All right? Thank you so much. Have a great, great evening. Bye-bye.